Hello, my friends, hello, and welcome once again to Stately Vaughan Manor, where Roger and I have returned to talk about real books. We're talking about real books today, Roger. Actually, we're talking about the somewhat inexplicable prejudice that is often leveled against certain book formats, most specifically, ebooks and perhaps even more so, audiobooks. I find it odd. I have been on BookTube for over 5 years now. I can't remember exactly how long I've been on BookTube, but it's been a while. And so I've made over 1,000 videos, and I've read a lot of comments. And every time, literally every time I talk about ebooks or Kindles or e-readers or anything of that sort, I don't just get comments that say, "Oh, I prefer physical books." I actually get comments that are sometimes sort of angry and very frequently judgmental. There's a lot of judgment when it comes to ebooks that I just find strange. And I haven't talked about audiobooks so much because I personally don't listen to audiobooks. Almost never, actually. It's just not something I ever got into. But I've watched a lot of BookTube channels where, the person who runs the BookTube channel does listen to audiobooks regularly. And I've read comments on those channels, and some of those comments are even harsher. The strange prejudice against audiobooks as well. And I find that just as strange. And one of the things you find leveled against, one of the frequent comments that you find against audiobooks and ebooks is that they're not real books. They're not real, Roger. The comments, and frequently the comments are weird. I will read you a couple of comments that I got in a recent video that made me think about this. I'm going to read them off of my iPad, which is, of course, the ultimate sin, Roger, to read on an iPad. Apparently, reading on an iPad is the worst. But I'm going to read these comments because of my recent comments, these two are my favorite. How do the Kindle's pages feel between your fingers? How does it smell? It smells like flowers, Roger. Wow, the Kindle smells great. And this, for you younger people, now in all caps, Roger. For you younger people, now, while you still can find a local used bookstore, step inside, close your eyes, and simply inhale. Deeply through your nose, experience that air, that wonder of paper books. Scent and aroma do not convey what is there. Scent and aroma, Roger. So listen, this whole thing about sniffing your books and smelling your books, it's a little weird. I know you guys love to smell books. Fine, you could smell books, but, using that as what determines whether a book is a book or not is just wrong. You're not supposed to smell your books. That's not what books are for. They're not scented candles. They're books. You're supposed to read them, not smell them. Maybe I've been doing it wrong all these years, Roger. But, there's a certain amount of strangeness in this kind of criticism. Listen, like I said, I love physical books. But when we're talking about books, what are we actually talking about? Because when you talk about books, you could mean one of a couple different things. First of all, there is the physical object. This is the magnificent novel Blackwater by Michael McDowell, which is a fantastic book, which I highly recommend. This physical book is indeed beautiful. It's a great book. But this book is a physical object, but that's not usually what we're talking about when we're talking about books. Usually, We're talking about what's inside the book, because what is in the book is what matters. What matters are the words. This is what matters. Yes, this, the words. Not as exciting as the physical object to touch and feel and rub on your body, if you're into that sort of thing. And judging from some of the comments I get, I think some people are into that kind of thing. But what really matters is what's in the book, the words. The words, that's what we're talking about usually. That's always what I'm talking about usually when we're talking about books. The real book is what is inside this physical object, because the real book is the words. The words, that's the book, and it shouldn't matter how you read those words. You could read a physical book. You could read an ebook. You could listen to an audiobook. Who cares how you do it? Apparently some people care. I don't know why there's so much judgment thrown around as far as this goes. It's okay. Listen, it's okay to prefer physical books. It's okay to only want to read physical books and not to want to read in these other formats, because everybody has their personal preferences and everybody has reasons for preferring one type of book over another, like how they smell. That's fine, man. You do you. But who cares what somebody else reads, right? Why do you care if somebody listens to an audiobook? And when it comes to audiobooks, one of the comments I see frequently is, well, it's not really reading. You can't read an audiobook, so you're not really reading. Okay, technically, that's true. Technically, you're listening to somebody else read the book to you. So what? So what if you listen to the book instead of read it? What do you care whether somebody likes to listen to audiobooks? Let them listen to audiobooks. Who cares? It's the same book. The words are the same. This is what's important, because it's the words that's what is actually the book, the words. So if you prefer to listen, fine. It shouldn't matter. And if you're arguing that they're not really reading, well, guess what? You can both talk about this book that one person listened to and you read it, in the traditional way of reading a book. You can still talk about this book and have a discussion about this book, because you both have experienced the book in two different ways, perhaps. But whether you listen to the words or read the words, so what? Who cares? I've never personally been into audiobooks. I've never been able to really get into them. But you know what? Maybe one day I will. Maybe someday, I'll lose my eyesight, or my eyesight could get so bad that maybe listening to a book would be easier. And that way I could still experience a book. And you know what? There are plenty of people, long-haul truckers or people who spend a lot of time in their cars, where, audiobooks are great, because they can actually get through these books they want to read in a time where otherwise they couldn't. So what? What is upsetting you about this? Some people are genuinely upset. And ebooks, there's been people upset about ebooks since ebooks first started. But these are two formats, ebooks and audiobooks, that have been around a long, long time. I mean, they've been around for decades, really. But I think because they're both formats that are so accessible to people now, they've become common. And it is true, as I mentioned in one of my recent videos, that these things are one of the reasons that mass market paperbacks have gradually started to disappear and now are completely disappeared pretty much, because these are more portable than mass markets, and they're just as easy to read, and there's a bunch of advantages that these have that mass market paperbacks don't. Although mass market paperbacks do have the beautiful covers, and I talked all about that, and I think that is one of the reasons that people dislike ebooks, one of them. But I think a lot of people are just invested in one particular format, to the point where I've actually read comments where people are saying things like, I have all of these physical books, but now I'm just reading the Kindle. I'm just reading ebooks, but I have all these beautiful books on the shelves and I kind of feel bad about it. You get people that actually feel guilty because they're not reading their physical books, they're reading their ebooks. And they feel bad about it, almost as if, they're cheating on their books with this illicit format. Listen, your physical books, they don't care whether you read them or not. They don't care. Your books don't care. They can't care. They're just paper and ink. That's what they are. Paper, glue, and ink. That's what physical books are when it comes down to it, right? They don't care whether you read them or not. They don't care what happens to them. They don't care if you move them around. They don't care if you put them in boxes. They don't care about anything because they're just objects. And you hear people say things like, well, books are friends. Books are not your friends. Your friends are your friends. These are books. You might love them, but they can't love you. It doesn't matter whether you read the physical book or not. If you decide to read an ebook of the same book, it's fine. It's okay. You don't have to feel guilty. They're not judging you. Other people are judging you. But the books themselves, they're happy to just sit on the shelf. Really? Actually, they're not happy, Roger. They don't have feelings. I know. This part of the video is angering people, Roger. I think this whole video is probably angering people. But that's okay. That's all I have to say about it. I just find it peculiar. This odd prejudice against ebooks and audiobooks. It's weird.